Hello, 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 hello. There we go. So I'm going to try and bring it down a couple of octaves. Firstly, thank you so much for joining this room. I know, and I'm really conscientious that it's lunchtime. I'm standing between you and food, and that is not a good position to be in. It's not, is it? It's terrible. I'll have to speak with Guy and get myself on a little bit sooner next time. So thank you so much. I also recognise that there's many, many things that you could have gone to, so I really appreciate your time in giving a little bit of focus and dedication to the armed forces space. Don't worry, I started a little bit early and I'm padding, so it's fine. So yeah, I really am grateful for that. On the theme of thanks as well, I just want to say a quick thank you to Guy and the team at Social Value Portal. Putting on an event like this is no mean feat. It really isn't. Thousands of delegates, lots of keynote speakers. But I think what they are doing is incredibly valuable, bringing people together for a like-minded reason and talking about how we can have an impact on the societal issues that we face, but importantly, how we do that responsibly, and what I keep on hearing is the kind of buzzword sustainably. So how do we make sure that doing good can also be good for business? And I want to try and touch upon that as part of what I'll be talking about today. So I think that's a good time to introduce myself. My name is Joel. I am the Deputy CEO of Walking with the Wounded, and hopefully my session I'm going to keep really meaningful, hopefully impactful, and maybe have a couple of bits of information that you might not be aware about for the veteran community and how you can proactively get involved within this space. Three more slides than I expected there. So this is me. Amazingly, I look far more youthful there. Maybe it looks like I've had the Prime Minister's job for a couple of years. I've definitely been addled. So, Walking with the Wounded. A lot of people might have heard of Walking with the Wounded, normally built upon what that photo is all about, our expeditions. So, back in 2010, we were the organisation that took physically and mentally injured veterans across to the South Pole. We then have continued with expeditions, doing the North Pole, doing Everest, the Walk of Britain, the Walk of America, and throughout that time, our patron for those expeditions was His Royal Highness Prince Harry, and that gained a lot of attention and a lot of traction. And ultimately, even though expeditions are still part of our DNA now and we're thinking about doing more in the future, the reality is that's not what we do and it's not who we stand for. The reason for the expeditions was to recognise the inherent skills of those who have served. And actually, I was in the main room listening to Izzy Everest, and it rang true what she was saying in terms of society putting the barriers up for those individuals who themselves don't deem to have a disability. And that's the important thing. So during the period that was the Middle Eastern War, and there was lots of attention and notoriety around that particular issue at the time, especially with the images of injured soldiers coming, out from that situation. Really, there was a message of woe and of pity, and how we have to help our veterans. It was also, in my opinion, led with a lot of negative attachment, such as wounded, injured, sick, mad, bad, and sad. That was the portrayal. And we wanted to try and cut through that noise and actually recognise the inherent skills of those who have served. Resiliency, tenacity, empowerment, drive, soft skills, hard skills. And so we created a platform to allow our veterans to go and prove what it is that they know that they're capable of proving. And that all came about from our founder, Ed Parker, whose nephew, Harry, had lost both legs in Afghanistan. And while he visited him on Selly Oak, Harry was still the individual that Ed knew. He was having competitions with the patients on that same ward. Who's going to run the furthest, quickest? Who's going to jump the highest? There was that kind of gallows humour that came out, but ultimately it wasn't being replicated in the media. And so that's what we did. We went out there and we tried to hold on to that message, not of woe, but of will. And then from there, we raised a lot of money, raised a lot of attention. And actually, we gifted that income away to a number of other military charities. And it was on that journey that we started to recognise there was a big space in provision for the veteran community. There were lots of organisations that specialised in certain areas, so be that mental health therapy or be that employment support, but very rarely was it all interlinked. So a person would come into into a field requiring social care needs, so isolation, social injustice, depression, not always PTSD, just adjustment disorder, and then from there struggle to navigate to who to go to. Actually, what we wanted to do was provide a service that was interconnected, that was bespoke, that was operating in the heart of communities. And that's what we continue to do to this day. And that's incredibly difficult in a world where we know efficiencies can be improved by doing digital care, but we know that trust is not built that way. We know that there are individuals that don't have access to technology. There is a gap in terms of education and in terms of IT. So we want to continue to operate in the heart of communities, because we know that's where we'll find the individuals that have withdrawn from the want and desire to access that support. A couple of stats that are up on the screen, which I think are really important, because again, it demonstrates who we are as an organisation. Sorry, was I getting too loud? So straight away, in terms of our mental health support, it's delivered within 10 days and within 10 miles. So it's quick reaction, it's slowing that spiral of descent, and again, it's taking people off those lengthy waiting lists where unfortunately other issues can occur, such as drug and alcohol misuse, financial debt management, and a number of other things. So we are quick reaction with what it is that we do. In terms of our employment, often the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle for us, we have a retention rate of 72% remaining employments after 12 months. So again, what it is that we are doing is providing careers and reigniting a sense of purpose and helping an individual to continue to move on. We're not box ticking, which again is something that from listening to others around the room and having the conversations today, everyone's hyper aware of, that we should be doing this for the right reasons and creating long-lasting change rather than box ticking to appease others that might want us to look like we're doing a good job. So I will just continue with that message that we are a story of, not of woe, but of will. And actually, the one thing, again, which I've not touched upon, we're a charity that doesn't offer handouts, but hand-ups. So as much as we provide the tools for an individual to go to lead long-term independent lives, that individual has to want it for themselves. So all of the outcomes that we've got, and I'll come on to that in a bit more detail, those individuals have gone and achieved that for themselves. We've helped with a hand up, but we certainly have not offered handouts. And I think that's crucially important for me to say, because charities sometimes can come with a little bit of stigma that it is all about the handouts, but it isn't. We're giving people a platform here. So what is our purpose? Well, keeping with that sense of positivity and the inherent skills, I just want to give a bit of a flavour as to the veteran community. So there's about 12,000 to 15,000 service leavers each and every year. 90% of those will transition perfectly well. So again, remember that drive, that tenacity, the hard skills of electrical engineering or operation management, project management, but also the softer skills in terms of teamwork, collaboration, drive, showing up on time, being there when you're needed. They're all the things that make our veterans fantastic citizens. They will continue to serve their communities again. They'll continue to serve the organisations that they're a part of. So 90% will transition perfectly well. Unfortunately, there are 10% or so that struggle with that transition. And even though it's only 10%, and in totality they represent 4% of the population, so of those who have served across the UK, roughly 4% have served. So quite a small cohort, really, in the grand scale of things. But the 10% or so that struggle are disproportionately found within sheltered accommodation, within drug and alcohol rehabilitation centres, within the criminal justice system. And unfortunately, what we find is that when an individual is suffering from the forces, there is so much attached to it in terms of pride, in terms of sense of purpose, not knowing where to go, that it's not just one wheel that falls off the cart, but all of them. It's a real compound effect. So why are we here? We're here for that 10%. Why should you care? Because in a world where there is so much that you could be doing, climate, AI, displacement, ethnic minority backgrounds, physical disability, mental injury, women in the workplace, whatever it might be. There's so much that we could be focusing our attention. My point is, you could be a number of those things and a veteran. You could be a veteran be female. You could be a veteran and have a physical disability. You could be a veteran and come from an ethnic minority background. So we can affect a small cohort, but that will have real large repercussions across our society and the societal issues that we are facing. So in a world where it's tough to do a lot, what I would say is do a lot for a particular area, and you will find that rising tides lift all boats. So I think there was one thing that I just want to reiterate as well. I don't think it's even on the slides. But if I was to have a common denominator for those that struggle with their transition, it's a lack of purpose. And what we are trying to do as an organisation is reignite that sense of purpose, reignite that sense of identity. And so coming back to what I'm all about in terms of positivity, that's the overarching message. That's what we're doing here, and that's our purpose and our raison d'etre. So again, keeping in sync with, I think what Guy mentioned downstairs in the main room, people respectfully don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from our lived experience, because that's how we prove that we're doing a good job. And I will come on to that. And there's a gentleman who is very brave and who has shared his story through a video, which I'll share in a moment or so. His name is Martin. He was court-martialed. He was acquitted. But unfortunately, as a result of what he went through, the ringer that he was dragged through, he had family strain, he found himself unemployed, had isolation, debt management, all of the things that I'm talking about. And so he came into our service, and we were able to equip that formula of mental health therapy plus social care plus employment at the end equals long-term independence for himself, his wife Kerry, and his children as well. And I want to make sure that I come on to that, because ultimately my key message from this one is that behind every statistic that you are hearing is a person. We are literally, if we get this right, saving lives and shaping futures. Now, I can't think of anything more that we want to be doing here. That's the whole reason why I've given 15 years of my life to the third sector. I came from recruitment and business-to-business sales. I was on the other side, doing very well for myself and my family. But actually, I knew that we could do more, and that's why I've always attached myself to organisations like Walking with the Wounded that I believe demonstrate true impact. And you can see it on the screen. In 2024 alone, we've generated £29 million of social value. So that is social savings to the government. That's delivered through 6,850 therapy sessions, 48,000 hours of direct support. We've achieved 352 employment outcomes, and nearly 2,500 veterans were supported. That was last year. In total, over 30,000 veterans we have supported, 30,000 lives either saved or future shaped. So I'm very proud of that. But ultimately, as a reminder, behind every single statistic is a person. And here is Martin's story. Video embedded here. Video now should play. Can anyone from the tech team help with that? No? So it was sent separately as well. Brilliant. Do you know what? We'll come back onto that. Technology, it's always technology, isn't it? Always lets you down. Well, hopefully, yeah, that will be picked up. So it was sent separately. It was also sent embedded within the files, but also made a point of saying it's also separate in case it didn't work that way. So fingers crossed, you've got all options covered. If not, we'll find it on YouTube together. So look, hopefully, what I'm saying is I'm really passionate, and I'm hoping that you guys can be passionate too. I think that Martin's journey brings it to life. I'd love you all to see that. If that isn't possible, then I will try and find a way to capture it in some sort of notes afterwards. But ultimately, I think there's lots of reasons to support this particular area. And so my call to action to you as business leaders is what's the relevance, what's the benefit for you for working with us, and then how can you do that, and what's my call to action? So Walking with the Wounded can strengthen your Armed Forces Covenant. I've heard a lot of organisations that are on the journey with the Armed Forces Covenant. If you're not, I encourage you to do so. It's a government-backed initiative. It's very, very easy to engage with. It ultimately is a testament to the fact that your organisation will not knowingly put any barriers in place to those who have served when it comes to employment. It's as easy as that. Now, that will get you a bronze level, and you can go all the way up to gold. Now, how you get to there is what you do from an advocacy and an ambassador perspective, and we can help with that journey. But ultimately, I encourage anyone who has not signed it to get their business to sign it, and that is the first step on what can be an incredible journey in terms of looking at this space. So we can help strengthen that. We can help you meet those social tender requirements. I know that might feel grubby and a bit dirty, but at the moment, the Procurement Act is mandating that, and so you have to work with the tools that you've got, right? So within the armed forces space, £55,000 is the value attached to recruiting an ex-service leaver if they remain in post after 12 months. How do we help with that? Most of our guys are unemployed, so straight away at the point of access to you, you are offering their job. After 12 months, and we offer 12 months in work support, and we've got those statistics of 72% staying in employment, we're going to return that value. But also, I'm not asking you to create budget there. Whoever you're using for your recruitment, what I'm saying is give us a chance, because we all say the same. I used to be in recruitment, so the age-old sale is, you know, it's only going to cost you something if I find you the right person. Well, actually, give us that chance. So I'm not asking you to create budget, but I'm asking to put it in a place where you get more impact at the end of it, and you're accessing a talent pool that you don't usually have access to. So that's the whole point. But yes, we can help with the social value tender requirements. We can help you get talented individuals, which in turn will strengthen your ED&I as well. So really important. We can engage staff. So in a world, and I speak from experience on this myself, where you'd care more about your salary at the end, but the culture that you're a part of. Let's help build that culture. Let's help build that voice. If I come back to the fact that 4% of those who have served, the likelihood is you've got veterans that are in your workplace. They've probably just not come forward because they don't feel that they've got a voice, or it doesn't make any difference. You know, what's the point in actually coming forward and saying, hey, I've served, if at the end of it you go, all right, crack on. So how do we help that? Well, we can help build a veteran program. We can help give those individuals a voice, and we can help them to actually integrate with others that are like-minded individuals, bring them to our Cumbrian Challenge, which it's arduous, but a lot of people love it. I've got a 5-minute warning, so I'll wrap up there. There's lots of ways that you can get in touch. There's lots of ways that you can get involved: corporate partnership, sponsorship, employment, events. It goes on and on. If we don't get a chance to cover all of those things, connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Joel Oxbury. I'm on there. I will connect and we can carry on that chat. We've got a stall down in the main centre, so come across and say hi that way. Or my email is dead easy to remember. It's just joel@wwtw.org.uk. So you can get in touch with me that way as well. But I wanted to make sure that we had 5 minutes for questions, so that was my 5-minute warning. So over to you guys. Thank you again for your time. Any questions? I either bored you to sleep or I gave you everything that you needed. Yes?
Obviously, you guys work nationwide.
That's right.
So if you had to say which were your probably hotspots of main engagement or main kind of cohort, what are your top 3 in the UK?
Yeah, great question. So northwest, northeast. So it's the biggest recruitment ground for the infantry, which still makes up the major percentage of the forces. So I would say northwest, northeast, and then the areas really, and it's up for grabs, but I'd probably say south. So you still got the highest proportion of veterans in London and the surrounding areas. But what's interesting is their level of well-being is higher than the national average. But in the northeast and the northwest, it's much less, and that comes down to employment, it comes down to other opportunities, and it comes back to the fact that in those areas, sometimes they have left the background that they want to leave, gone into the forces, but then returned home, and so those issues manifest. So yeah, I'd say those two hotspots. Videos come in. We might come on to that in a second. No questions, please.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what did employing organisations put in place to make those, to retain the veterans? I mean, how do they make it successful as an employment opportunity?
So like-minded individuals, a buddy-buddy system really helps. So if you recruit from the military and you know you've got someone that has served as well, create that relationship, like-minded individuals speak together, and it builds confidence to say that I can be here too if you are and you've had a successful career. That's a really easy one. And then the other thing is you can build veteran programs behind it, which would give things like recognition. It might be a reward. So it could be coming into events like I've mentioned, the Cumbrian Challenge. It could be just recognising that individual has served through kind of patches or giving them a day off on a particular poignant period in their career. So you can start to build your programme out. But often I think the easiest thing is in the same way that you look after most of your employees, that's the main thing. They're no different. But ultimately you can start to turn the dial a little bit in terms of creating a more holistic approach to that individual feeling that they can thrive in the workplace. Any more? So there was a question here as well. Lots coming up now. Brilliant. Sorry, start here.
So do you specialise in like particular areas of the military? For example, do you focus on the Air Force, or do you focus on just the Army, or is it all covered?
We are tri-forces, and as long as you have served a day within the military, you can count. So we don't have any elitism. You don't have to be a certain rank, certain division, whatever it might be. We will support you. That is somewhat different, we've heard, from other charities that can have those levels in place. So we're open to all on that one. Yes?
John, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Really insightful, thank you. I'm just thinking there are so many other ex-veteran kind of charities out there that are actually partnered with as well in our business. But do you look at sort of cross-collaboration with other charities and like-minded?
Yeah, we certainly try to. I heard about collaboration being quite difficult, and we find that as well, because ultimately charities can't survive without funding, and so there is a fear from those other military charities that we're going to take funding if we start to do the good job. That is really dangerous. So you're treating the veteran as a commodity. Really bad. So one of our values on our website is collaboration. We want to do that. What we find is some of the larger organisations don't want to collaborate, I'll just be honest. A very quick one on the back of that as well, because you mentioned veterans. You've got service leavers and you've got veterans. So service leavers, you might hear the CTP, that's working upstream, and it's helping those individuals that have handed in essentially their resignation and then want a journey back into civilian street. And then you've got veterans, and they are 2 years after service, and that's what we're dealing with. So just thought it was worth picking up on what you mentioned about veterans there. Any more? Yes.
Do you work with the broader armed forces community? So obviously spouses, children, because we know we've got a lot of talent within those communities.
Yeah.
Where, say, husbands or wives have put their careers on hold. So it'd be good to understand that broader if you've got reaches into those broader communities.
Yeah, we do. Most of our referrals come from the spouse. So we work very closely with spouses, family liaison, intervention, family strains, one of the biggest areas. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of need. So yes, we do. Children, no. So 18 plus. There are other organisations which we feel are stronger placed to help in that adolescent space. Sorry, another question.
For the employment opportunities that you help the companies with, is there a sort of field that you find that more veterans that you work with tend to specialise in? Or?
So yes, there is, but I'm really hazard saying this because what we should do more of is encouraging that individual to think outside of their sphere. So some of the issues, and I mentioned CTP, and if there's anyone here that's working with them, they'll probably try and kick the hell out of me for saying this, but they are box ticking and saying, hey, you used to be in the Royal Logistic Corps and you've got a HGV licence, let's get you a truck driver job. That might not be conducive for what they need next. So we should encourage greater conversations of what can you actually do outside of what your hard skills say. However, even that being said, most individuals will get favourable outcomes in construction, in security, in logistics and operations. And that's just because ultimately you think about what it is that they're doing day to day, it makes sense. But we should encourage other opportunities. Any more? Yeah, I've got a 1 minute warning. This is more than 1 minute. Is everyone happy just to watch? Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can play that video.
Civvy Street's lonely for me. In the army, you've got a purpose in life, and then when you come out here into civilian life, you're a nobody. It's hard out here. It's really hard out here, and it's different because you've not got the camaraderie. I was at rock bottom when I come out. I was just lower than a grass snake's belly. I was low. Like so many others, I've fell through the cracks. I knew of nobody to turn to. Nobody was there to help except for walking with the wounded. Alright mate, how you doing? Yeah. Listen, it just takes baby steps, mate, baby steps. The relief, like when I had that phone call and they was like, yeah, we can help you. And it was just like, somebody out there to help, you know what I mean? Like, they was the only people that stepped in and realised I was ill. Yeah, someone did care. Cheers, thank you. Thanks. Gives you your dignity back, your self-confidence, pride. That feeling of being respected snapped me out of loneliness and fear. I'm proud of myself. If it weren't for walking with the wounded, I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. They were with me every step of the way. It's still not finished, but getting there. Getting there.
Morning.
Morning.
Good night.
Yeah.
Want a cup of tea?
Yeah, I'll have one, please.
Okay.
Hello. Morning.
Cereal? Yeah. Yeah?
Aren't you lucky to have
Very lucky.
I'll be happy as Larry one day. One day I will probably, but I'm good at the minute.